and thank you for joining us on Newsline for Friday, October the 3rd of 2014. I'm Tra Chirakalsan. And welcome to today's segment of Thailand Moves Forward, broadcasting live on NBT. On to today's headlines, the Prime Minister of Thailand has discussed government matters with delegates from the Japanese government with an emphasis on trade and investment. General Prayut Chan-o-cha, Prime Minister of Thailand and Chief of the National Council for Peace and Order, or NCPO, has attended a meeting with the State Minister of Foreign Affairs of Japan, His Excellency Mr. Minoru Kyuchi, and the Ambassador of Japan to Thailand, His Excellency Mr. Shikasu Sato, as special delegates from the Japanese government. The State Minister for Foreign Affairs of Japan brought a message from the Prime Minister of Japan, Mr. Shinzo Abe, to the Prime Minister of Thailand, saying that the Prime Minister Abe congratulated him on his inauguration as Thai Prime Minister and invited him to pay an official visit to Japan. The Thai Prime Minister then gave thanks to the Japanese Prime Minister via the delegates and will consider an appropriate date and time to visit Japan. The Prime Minister of Thailand then explained the situation in Thailand, the necessity for the government to administer the country, and the aim of the government to push Thailand forward in various respects. The Japanese government understands the situation in Thailand and hopes that the Thai government will continue to proceed along the roadmap that has been laid down. The Japanese government is keen to invest more in Thailand, especially in infrastructure, water management, and satellite communications. The Japanese government asked Thailand to take care of Japanese investors in Thailand and propose a trilateral meeting between Thailand, Myanmar, and Japan regarding the Dawe's deep seaport project, according to the spokesperson. General Prayut Chan-o-cha said that the Thai government will take care of investors fairly and that the Prime Minister has asked Japan to promote the transmission of modern technology and human resources development. The government has invited Japan to invest in 5 new special economic zones in border areas of Thailand, which will open up to new opportunities for investments with neighboring countries, as well as investments beyond the 18 existing industrial zones nationwide. The British ambassador to Thailand called on the new Commissioner General of the Royal Thai Police to congratulate him on his new post and discuss the progress of the murder case of 2 British tourists. Mr. Mark Kent, the ambassador of the United Kingdom to Thailand, met Police General Somyot Phumpanmuang to congratulate the latter on his new post and asked about the investigation into the murder of 2 Britons in Kot Dao of Surat Thani province. Police General Somyot on this occasion elaborated on the working process of the police and clarified the ambassador's doubts regarding the case. He said the police had investigated and collected DNA samples from hundreds of suspects and sent them to test in Singapore, but none of them provided links to the case. Thai authorities also reassured that investigations would be conducted carefully to make sure that the case would not be dropped during court deliberations as a result of weak evidence. During the discussion, the British ambassador showed his satisfaction and understanding towards the works of the Thai police and readiness to support the police in areas of DNA tests, CCTV equipment, or other issues to be requested. Police General Somyot also said he would appoint Acting Deputy Police Chief Police Lieutenant General Jaktip Chaijinda as head of the investigation team. He also invited the ambassador to visit Kot Dao to look at the works of the investigation team. The National Legislative Assembly yesterday has completed more missions and passed more laws that have been scheduled for deliberations. On Thursday, the NLA has reviewed more draft laws, including the 3rd reading of the draft Civil and Commercial Law Amendment and the 1st reading of the draft Ivory Trade Law and the draft Wildlife Conservation and Protection Law. After hours of deliberations, the Assembly passed all drafts by the vote of a majority of the members and resolved to set up a special committee to study the 2 drafts that had just passed their first readings. The draft review is to be completed within 30 days before presenting them to the NLA again. In addition, the Assembly members have cast secret ballots to select members of the Judicial Commission. Out of 4 candidates, 144 NLA members have voted for former National Anti-Corruption Commissioner Mê Thi Krong Kao, while 134 members voted for former Supreme Court Judge Pricha Chawalit Thamrong to sit in the commission. Moreover, Thursday's sitting has resolved to set up a committee to verify the background of each candidate for 15 vacant positions at the Office of the Ombudsman, Thailand. The newly set up committee has 15 days to complete the task. The National Anti-Corruption Commissioner, NACC, confirmed that assets and liabilities amongst members of the National Legislative Assembly will be declared no later than today. Details of 195 NLA members' assets will be made public from October 3rd until the 17th. The NACC made known that the audit is in accordance with the Anti-Corruption Act. The statement came after the Supreme Administrative Court upheld the Central Administrative Court's decision to dismiss a legal challenge from 28 members of the NLA protesting against an anti-corruption requirement to declare their assets. The ruling will become a permanent norm for any holders of political office in Thailand. Members of the cabinet are also legally required to declare their assets to the NACC by today. The NCC made known that Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha has already submitted a list of his assets and liabilities to the office as the Premier and as a Commander-in-Chief of the Army. Sirirat Hospital held a press conference on the first therapeutic antibody for Ebola hemorrhagic fever developed in Thailand. This is the first successful production of an antibody treatment against Ebola in Thailand. Speaking at the press conference, Dean of the Faculty of Medicine of Sirirat Hospital, Mahidol University, Clinical Professor Udom Kachinthon expressed concern over the severity of Ebola outbreaks. He said Sirirat Hospital research team has been on a continuous search for cures and has finally arrived on what could be called a breakthrough to generate therapeutic antibody for treatment of Ebola, which is the most recent development in advanced therapeutics. This discovery, along with the ability to perform laboratory diagnosis of Ebola virus infection, has further ensured the success of the faculty's medical services with an international standard to create therapeutic works for complex diseases. However, these prototypes of Ebola antibodies have been produced at the laboratory scale, which is inadequate for therapeutic use. Therefore, the research team has recently collaborated with Siam Bioscience Company, which is a biopharmaceutical company that has enough capacity to produce bioproducts at the manufacturing scale. These prototypes of antibodies have been patented by the Faculty of Medicine, Sirirat Hospital, Mahidol University. The University of the Thai Chamber of Commerce, or UTCC, has revealed that the nation's Consumer Confidence Index has dropped for the first time in September after maintaining a positive trend for 5 consecutive months. UTCC's Economic and Business Forecasting Center revealed that the CCI in September has dropped to 79.2 points from 80.1 points in August due to slow recovery in the Thai economy as a result of low prices on agricultural goods. Low exports and slow recovery in the tourism sector have also contributed to the decline of the CCI, causing a number of business operators to be concerned about their income. Meanwhile, the Finance Ministry's Fiscal Policy Office, or FPO, has still maintained their earlier forecast that the Thai economy would grow by 2.0% for the entire year of 2014. The Bank of Thailand, or BOT, has reported that Thailand's total household debt during the second quarter of this year now stands at 10 trillion baht. Household debt in Thailand, which makes up 84% of the country's GDP, has increased by 752 billion baht, or 8.11% compared to last year's figure. According to the BOT, the massive rise in household debts could be attributed to an increase in one-month defaults on consumer loans and lower credit quality on car loans and personal loans. Meanwhile, Kasikorn Bank Executive Vice President Thiranan Hongs expressed his concerns about the high levels of debt, and he said that personal loans make up 20% of the bank's total loans, whereas the majority of the loans are SME loans. Mr. Thiranan believes that this year's loans could grow by 6 to 7%, a bit lower than the 8% target. People often believe that in order to make a difference in society, you must hold a position of power. But truly, you don't have to have all these things, but only a power of care that can make a difference. Kun Panot Si Sin Sap has the details.
Sometimes in Cambodia, children are still isolated from educational opportunities.
This is a way for children in the rural area to receive their education, but there are also other organizations that come in here to better improve the education standard for students in the rural area.
Since 2010, over 700 students at the Pichi Rangsi Primary School on the outskirts of Phnom Penh are considered lucky, as they have been receiving continuous support and generous funding from non-governmental organizations. But their good fortune goes back to an Australian businessman in Phnom Penh who noticed how much they needed a new school building and set about raising the money to build one. The new school, which is comprised of 3 buildings and 15 classrooms, is a place that now provides students in the area with a much better path to a brighter future. Mr. Denzel Sprague is the person propelling all the developments. Besides the construction of the new school buildings, Mr. Denzel also gave major importance to improving the quality of the overall education and health standards of the students. Although neither a teacher nor principal, Mr. Denzel gave much prominence to the direction of the new school.
So what I do is I decide what extra things the children have, and through funding now, I used to support it all myself but I don't anymore. We have a sister school arrangements with Caulfield Grammar in Melbourne, which is a private school in Melbourne, and they do funding for us. Children's Rights International, and a lot of this is all coordinated through an organisation called Humanitas Foundation. So between all these organisations and the Caulfield Grammar School, who provide a huge amount of funding, all their senior school and their junior school, all their funding comes to our primary school, and so we're very, very pleased with that association.
There are now enough funding to provide all 700 students with free school uniforms, PE uniforms, footballs for games, medicines, and many other amenities, including field trips, where before such activities were impossible. Mr. Denzel also gave major importance to the subjects their children require.
So I talk to the kids a lot, and I say you've got to become good at English and computer to enable yourselves to get a job when you finish school. There's a lot to be done for the school, a lot of ideas and things to be formulated to benefit these children, and to try and set something up for them so that they can they can be employable when they leave school,
Because Denzel Sprague helped develop this school, more children within the village will now have an education and a better chance of a good future, whereas before they were left at home or accompanied their parents to work, or oftentimes their children has to work as well. Now, because of people like Mr. Denzel, more children in Cambodia are on a path to a better future. A great example of how one person can make a real difference. I'm Panot Sinsap, reporting from Phnom Penh, Cambodia.
The Government Public Relations Department of PRD held its 18th Music in the Garden event in the Public Relations Department auditorium at Soi Ari yesterday in an ongoing promotion of unity and harmony in the country. This week's concert featured Chairat Phuangarom, a well-known singer well-loved by many Thais. The event also features other great singers including Mom Ratchawong Jirakom, Kitiyakon, and performers from the PRD band. The special guest list ensured a fun and exciting event. The public is, of course, invited to join the bi-weekly event in the PRD auditorium in Soi Ari, and entry is always free of charge. In today's segment of Now or Never, Dr. Yongyut Mayalap, the government spokesperson, will talk about energy cooperation between Thailand and International Energy Agency.
Welcome to Now or Never, the program that updates you on the achievements of the National Council for Peace and Order, or NCPO, and the work progress of the government. On the 23rd of September 2014, the Cabinet approved the draft Memorandum of Understanding on Energy Cooperation between the Ministry of Energy and the International Energy Agency, or IEA, and designated the Energy Minister or representative to sign this MOU with the Director of the IEA. Established in November 1974 following the world oil crisis, the IEA is an energy organization under the framework of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or OECD. At present, members comprise 29 industrialized countries. The IEA has a significant role in the promotion of energy security, development of various energy sources, development of energy efficiency, creating energy supply stability among member countries, and promoting the free market in the energy industry, which is vital for the economic development. Apart from these, the IEA also focuses on raising awareness about climate change issues. So far, the Ministry of Energy of Thailand has cooperated with the IEA on a number of issues, such as a joint exercise in preparation for an energy crisis, as well as the development of several energy models. To continue with and expand on this cooperative relationship, the Ministry of Energy and IEA have thus agreed on the initiative of establishing a MOU. During the APEC Energy Ministerial meeting in Beijing between the 1st and the 2nd of September 2014, the Ministry of Energy held a bilateral discussion with Ms. Maria van der Hoeven, the Director of IEA, in which both parties agreed to establish such a MOU on energy cooperation. The signing of the MOU took place during the 32nd ASEAN Energy Ministers meeting between the 22nd and the 24th of September 2014. The MOU will cover the fields of energy security, approaches to oil reserves, energy emergency preparedness policy and measures, energy statistics, and other areas of cooperation that both parties have expressed interest in and have agreed upon. This will not only contribute to the sustainable development of the Thai economy, but also the strengthening of global energy security. The signing of the MOU is also in accordance with the 11th National Economic and Social Development Plan 2012 to 2016. สวัสดีครับ
And that's the end of today's edition of Thailand Moves Forward. Before we take a quick break, let's have a look at the exchange rates and commodity prices.
open the world of information. Embrace public participation. Present Thainess to the world. New dimension of the government's public relations. The 81st anniversary of Public Relations Department. Creative media for society and mobilizing Thailand towards the ASEAN community.
Welcome back. You're watching Newsline. The search continues for missing people on Mount Ataki yesterday, 6 days after it erupted. The death toll from the Japanese volcano eruption currently stands at 47, the worst in nearly a century. Japanese media reported rescue and recovery operations resumed early yesterday morning, but halted around midday due to rain. The government has deployed 1,400 personnel for the rescue and recovery operation. Kyodo News Agency said local authorities believe a total of 24 people are still believed missing since the eruption. Thai athletes earned a silver and 4 bronze for the country at the end of the 13th day of the 17th Asian Games in South Korea. Yesterday's only silver for Thailand earned by Akarin Gitjavijan in Taekwondo men's under 63 kilograms event, where he was defeated by South Korea's Lee Dae-hun by RSC outscore of 2-18. Thai karate player Songwut Muntan claimed a bronze yesterday after beat Alfari Muhammad from Jordan in the male's under 75 kilogram event. After beating, now the kingdom's Kabaddi squad also grabbed a bronze after losing to India 28-41. And in the female volleyball event, Thailand claimed another bronze with a 3-0 set victory over Japan. The male team, however, defeated by India with the score 1-3. Thai male soccer team yesterday were defeated by Iraq 1-0, rendering the team medalless. And Thailand has shots of 2 goals from both male and female and Taqwa events after the 2 teams casually beat Malaysia and Indonesia respectively, earning themselves spots in the finals. Thailand now ranks 10th with 9 golds, 7 silvers, and 27 bronzes. And that's it for today's edition of Newsline. For any comments or suggestions, please feel free to email them to us at newsline.mbt@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and just simply type in NNT, or check out our website at thainews.prd.go.th/newsing. We're going to say goodbye with footage of the beautiful tourist site of T Lasu Waterfall in Tak Province. I'm Tra Thirak Asan. Have a wonderful day. สวัสดีค่ะ